All right, hey, what's up, everybody? I just wanted to do a little look here at my OOTP 20 game that I've started back when the game came out a little over a week ago, and what I've been doing with the Miami Marlins, and you can see that 162 here in 2021, the third year here. And so I just kind of wanted to maybe do a little tips also about how I went about this and how to kind of rebuild the team quickly in this. The first thing I just want to show is Shohei Ohtani here. I mean, geez, look at this season that he just had. I mean, 6 wins both as a hitter. Okay, it's pretty good as it is. Only in 105 games, also, which is insane. But okay, you see that. And then you also see what he did as a pitcher. 5.6 wins. And he won the pitching triple crown, leading the league in Ks, ERA, and wins. That's absolutely crazy. I mean, that's like maybe like best season of all time. Who knows? But yeah, that is pretty crazy. I mean, that's probably the best case scenario if you're the Angels. But yeah, I just wanted to show that off because that is pretty crazy. But anyways, so looking at the team history here, you can see kind of what's happened. We started obviously in 2019, 57 and 105. I mean, probably not surprising there, but then to go from 57 to 82 in the next year, and then go from 82 to up 100 in the next year, all while decreasing payroll as well. It's pretty crazy. I'm not gonna sit here and say that I did this 100% realistically, but I tried to keep it pretty realistic. So I got like I keep a list of all the moves that I've made here, so I have them written down. So I'm gonna probably just kind of go through them and show you how I kind of run teams here. If I just kind of scroll down the active roster here, you can probably see, kind of common theme. There's not that many players that are still here that were here when I started. A couple of pitchers, but I don't think any position players. And we do have, obviously, we have still have Brian Anderson, but he's injured. But and we have Sixto Sanchez, who's also injured. He has a pretty big injury, but he was just barely into his major league career. So I mean, haven't really gotten much out of him yet. But yeah, I mean, there's not many players that are still here from the previous regime. I mean, we have Alcantara, Lopez, Nader, and Richards and Yamamoto, I guess. But those are like the only ones. So I guess I should say we got kind of lucky with some of our development here. You kind of need to get a little bit lucky on top of it because we got really lucky here with like for example Sandy Alcantara here developed into a really good pitcher or has developed into a really good pitcher. I don't know. I highly doubt he'll pitch like this in real life. A 2.71 for WAR, and he's really gotten that his control issues pretty settled down. Still a little bit high, but it's workable for sure. As you can see, whips in the barely above 1 the past 2 years. So we got a little bit lucky with that, and with Nick Nader also. I mean, he's really developed into kind of our ace here, but um, the good stuff, the good control, and that dominant changeup. Yeah, I mean, this was his first. I guess this was his second full season in the rotation, and he had uh, a really good year. But he isn't without. These guys aren't without their defects. I mean, neither doesn't have the stamina to go usually more than 5 or 6. Same thing with Sandy. Even though that actually Rose actually didn't wasn't never used to be 60. It used to be like in the 40s, but I guess it bumped up. But yeah, he the thing that would have held him back was if he would have been able to push it to more innings. But we also got Pablo Lopez, who's finally looking like he's a, he had his first really good year this year in 32 starts, 288, and almost 4 WAR. And then also Trevor Richards, who's been pretty good for us. This was another pretty good year from him. He's a nice little, number 3, number 4 guy for you in an ideal rotation. But yeah, so we got a little bit lucky with some of our development. And then also, this guy right here, Andrew Vaughn, was our first draft pick, and he looks like he's going to be a franchise player for us at first base. And you just never know with draft picks how they might pan out. It's pretty much a guessing game, but I think we'll run through kind of what I did to get started here. So obviously 2019 was really bad. We were obviously 105 losses. I mean, you can't get much worse than that. But we were able to flip some of our prospects, or not our prospects, our veteran players. And the most notable one was Sergio Romo. If I can find him here. Yeah, so I don't know what it was really, but Tampa had a lot of interest in him at the deadline. So we moved him to the Rays in July of 19 for Choi, Nate Lowe, first baseman, Christian Arroyo, infielder, and then Nick Solak, another infielder, and another reliever, Jalen Beeks. And I think, we really took advantage of their lack of 40-man roster spots because they can't fit. Their system is stacked, so they don't really have, all the room to put all their prospects and roll 5 guys on the 40-man. So a lot of these guys are expendable. The main prize of this was Nate Lowe, who you can see is a pretty good player. In his career with us, he came up for 2019, 50 games. He was pretty good, 822 OPS. And then in his first full season, he was pretty good again, although the OPS dropped a little bit, but basically the same season, a similar season for sure, 3.54. And then, so we were able to, because obviously we have that first baseman here, who was ready, who needed to get time in the MLB. We could have flipped. We needed to flip Nate Lowe. We're not going to have 2 first basemen on the team. First baseman only types on the team. If he could play anywhere else, I probably would have kept him. But we were able to then flip him for Ryan McMahon, and we've been playing him at second base because he can play second base. He's playing second base in real life. And he had a really good year for us in his first year, 4.9 WAR, and a solid OPS, but pretty good in Miami. That's good. This is a pretty big extreme pitchers park, so it's tough to get a really good OPS playing half your games in Miami. But yeah, so he is like one of our cogs in our lineup. So yeah, but basically after that first season, I was just like, we got to make the team better at some point. You got to make the team a little bit better, and you could sit around and wait for prospects to get developed if they get developed. You're not going to. I wasn't going to put much. I wasn't going to bank on guys like Lewis Brinson developing. I wasn't going to put much on Monty Harrison developing into what I wanted to. Their ratings in this game weren't great. I'll show Lewis Brinson. He was very frustrating for us. Let me just see here. So you can see what he did in 2019. He was another bad year out of him. I mean, better than 18, I guess, but is that the standard there? I wasn't going to wait for him to ever develop if he ever did. So we moved him to Arizona. after 19, and in a pretty big trade. This was probably one of our bigger trades. Also, we traded him along with Ison Diaz, who's also one of their top prospects, who never panned out for them. He got a brief cameo. I didn't like the way he played or his ratings, so I was ready to move him out. But we also moved out a couple of other, not real prospects or anything, but although this Christopher Torres guy was a pretty in-demand prospect, but we moved him, all those guys, for Eduardo Escobar, okay, Dalton Varsho, a top 100 prospect, who's now our catcher, and looks like he's going to be our catcher for a long time, as well as, John Duplantier, another kind of top 100 guy who is injured, but the trade was still a good move. I think. I think the trade was definitely what we needed to do. We were still selling high on whatever potential Brinson still had at the time, and we got some win now pieces. We got a win now piece in Eduardo Escobar, and also two really solid prospects in Varsho and Duplantier, who, Varsho looks like he's going to be with us for a long time. Duplantier, he had some more promise, but he's going to be on the shelf for a while. So he only made his major league debut in 21 and threw 12 innings and wasn't great or anything, but still good enough. But Escobar, we got him, and he was okay. Could have been a lot better. He was injured, and then when he got back, he had a slow start, but we kept him for that whole season. He put up 3 WAR in only 113 games. We were playing him at second, and if I can just get my papers out here. So this was the year that we went 82 and 80, so it would have been 2020. So in this offseason, then, we flipped him along with a couple of other prospects. It was a really big trade here. I didn't want to trade all of these guys, but I like the return that we got. It was really good for us. But we gave them Monty Harrison, who's not even with the Twins anymore. We gave up Jose De Leon, who was okay for us, and looks like he's hurt also. Corbin Martin, who we picked up from the Astros in a trade. Let me see what the trade was. We'll get to that one. But we picked up Corbin Martin, and he looks like he's going to be the best piece of this trade. But he had a pretty good year for him. And he was the one guy I didn't want to give up, but I think it was still worth it. And then we also picked up Kyle Lewis at one point, and we flipped him, and he had a pretty good year this year, it looks like, and limited playing time. But that's all right. We got Alex Kirilloff, who had a 4 WAR season for us this year, and he was really good for us. This was his first season in the major leagues. And it looks like he led the league in doubles, which is pretty cool. And we also got, come on, why is that doing that? Trevor Larnach, who has good ratings, but he didn't have a great year for us. We had to make some mid-season acquisitions to kind of get him out of the lineup. But he was, he still has good ratings, so I'm definitely going to look to give him another shot. But, he was our starting out or our left fielder this year, and then we moved him out of there around the trade deadline back to just like a 4th outfielder type. But he ends up with he still has a lot of promise and a lot of potential. He's still only 24, and he's got decent ratings, so I'm hoping he bounces back. But yeah, that's that was a big trade. That helped us tremendously in this one. And then so after that, still after that first season, we picked up we made some trades for Brad Hand. The Cleveland wanted to get rid of him. I guess his salary was too much, so we got Brad Hand, who we later flipped, and that's how we got Corbin Martin. We then we flipped Hand to Houston to get Corbin Martin, and we flipped Martin to get Larnach and Krylov. And so we also picked up like guys who teams were kind of willing to get rid of, like Gregory Polanco we picked up for 2020. He was coming off of a down 2019. I figured he would maybe have a bounce back. We got Pittsburgh to retain a lot of his salary. I have it written down here, I think. No, I don't. I should say it in the history, I think. Oh yeah, no, I do have it written down. So they retained 15% of his deal, and he wasn't good for us. He was really, really struggling with us. As you can see, I mean, he somehow had a 106 OPS. Again, it's just because I think that's bumped up because of Marlins Park, but only a 695 OPS. That's no good. So at the deadline again, we flipped him back to Pittsburgh, and we got a really good prospect package, or not even a we got a prospect package back for him. We traded away a couple of other guys, so we didn't really need for Cole Tucker, infielder Cole Tucker, who's we later flipped again. Travis Swaggerty, who was great for us in his first full season, although he was injured for a good part of it. But yeah, in his little stints here, short stints with the club, he was really good. So we had him, and then we also got Kevin Newman, who is kind of like our utility guy. He plays all over the infield, and he's like our backup infielder at this point. So yeah, we're just getting assets and flipping them, and so those were the moves that we made. We also made a couple of free agent acquisitions. We had some room in our budget after the first year. One thing I did right off the bat, well, not right off the bat, but a couple months in, we let go, or we just straight out released Y.N. Chen. You're not going to get his salary. You're not going to get anybody to take his salary. So we just straight up released him. We non-tendered guys like Dan Straley, a couple of relievers we non-tendered after the first year. So we had some pretty decent budget. Also, we lost the contracts of like Martin Prado and Starlin Castro after the first year. So we had a lot of room in the budget to sign some guys. And one guy that we signed was Xander Bogaerts. Yeah, so shortstop is pretty much the weakest spot, I think, in this organization. In real life, they have really, I think JT Riddle and Miguel Rojas are their starters this year. So they definitely could use a shortstop like Bogaerts. We signed him to a 5-year 75, so it was like 15 flat over 5 years. He's been an okay. I'm not too happy with it, actually. His OPS is for 2 years now below 700, and he was injured in that first year. He was out for he only played 71 games, but in this year he had a full year this year, and he still put up 2.6 WAR. But yeah, he's definitely been a disappointment. I'm not going to trade him though. I don't like signing guys just to trade them, especially in Miami where they have a history of doing that. I don't want to do that here. So we're gonna let him stick it out. But yeah, he's not great. He hasn't been great. But he plays decent enough shortstop that he's not giving us negative value or anything. 2.6 WAR. If you figure, the conservative estimate is what $8 million is what a win is worth, and he had 2.6, so he is earning surplus over that salary if you want to look at it like that. But I don't know how accurate any of that dollars per WAR thing is. I think there's a lot of gray area there, but So we got so yeah, we still have him now. It's going to be another 3 years for him, but he's still young. I don't mind having him. I don't think we're in a bad spot with our payroll or anything. We picked up Hunter Renfroe in a trade with San Diego. He was pretty good for us in that first year, and then this year he was a bench bet, and he was really good. He had a really good first half, but declines very much so in the second half. But he's just a bench bet. He's probably going to get either traded or non-tendered after this season. I'm not going to pay his $6 million ARB estimates. And we signed Brian Anderson to a long-term extension. He had a really good year, and he's like the only guy who had a really good year in 2019. He put up a 4.3 WAR season, 827 OPS. He was playing third and right. I think he was playing third against right-handed pitching, and then left against or right. I'm sorry, against left-handed pitching. And then the next year he had a down year with the bat, but he still put up 4.6 WAR. And this year he was doing really well before he got injured and was out for the entire season. So, but he was doing really well. So I like Brian Anderson. I think he's a nice little player. Definitely homegrown player. Try to extend a guy like that for sure. And it's a pretty team friendly deal. Even if he opts out after that. He really wanted that opt out. I couldn't get him to accept it without the opt out, but yeah, I think it's a pretty generous, pretty team friendly deal. 11 million's nothing these days, so I'm alright with that. And we also signed a free agent pitcher. Let me pull it up here. Yeah, this is how you spell it. Galicia, I believe. This guy, Jorge Galicia, he was a generated guy, that gets generated at the off season. We signed him, and it was a pretty big contract. It was like, hang on, I can look at it right here. So it was 18, 18, 17, and then 17 again with the player option. So it was a pretty big contract. I liked him, Cuban pitcher in Miami. Should have been a fan favorite, but I didn't like what he was doing. I didn't like his first year performance. Pitcher friendly park in Miami, and he was giving up a lot of home runs. He was a guy who's supposed to be a ground ball pitcher, but he was giving up a lot of home runs, and he was below average when you look at ERA plus. So even though I didn't want to trade him, I didn't really want to trade him. I don't like to sign players just to trade them. But my thinking was we had a lot of pitchers. We had a lot of starting pitchers that I wanted to give time in the rotation to, like Alcantara, Lopez, Nader, Richards, Sixto Sanchez before he got hurt. We still had Yamamoto, who I like. All these guys here in the minor leagues. So I figured it's a good baseball decision to try to get rid of that contract. I maybe wasn't the best signing. I guess I was a little bit tempted by the high overall, the Cuban background. He would have been a nice realistic addition, but he was also kind of clogging up our payroll a little bit. 17 million. I would have preferred to gotten rid of that. So we got the Cardinals to take him, and we got a pretty good prospect back for him, Graham Stinson, who. Yeah, it's another. I mean, it's a good problem to have, but we have another really good pitcher who's ready to come up. Probably next year he'll come up. I mean, it's a good problem to have, but we have a lot of pitching, which is the plan. It's supposed to happen. So we traded him, and it's just like, it's probably not realistic to trade these guys. I mean, to do as many trades as we did. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's realistic, but it's a simulation. You can get away with some things, but just looking over here, is there anything else I should say right now? No. So yeah, also we picked up a lot of good relievers on waivers and in trades here. Like Trevor Gott was a waiver claim. And he was really good in 2020, he was still good here, but not as great. In 21, and we picked up, was Chad Green a waiver claim? No, he was a trade. We actually traded a lot of our waiver claim relievers here, so um, maybe not a good talking point here. But we traded a lot of we picked up a lot of good relievers and then traded them, and in the process, we got back some really good ones like Jose Leclerc, who is one of the best in the game. You know, we got Chad Green, who's really good. We got this guy DeMarcus Evans, who is young but still has good ratings. We got Robert Tyler, another guy, young and ready to go. Dylan Cease, we moved him to the pen, even though he's supposed to be a starter, but we're not pitching him as a starter. We're pitching him as a reliever. And we had this guy who's injured, but this guy was one of the best. Was one of the best also. Not Jorge Guzman, but yes, Jorge Guzman too. But we didn't trade for him. This guy Gustave, who we picked up from San Francisco, was really good. You know, he had a 3-WAR season last year, another 3-WAR season this year. Yeah, he was just, you know, he really, it's really important to have good relievers in this game. I mean, you can really, it's so important to have a good bullpen. You should always try to have a good bullpen. I mean, they're usually easy to acquire in this game. Relievers are usually very easy to acquire. Like, we got Jose Leclerc for a couple of okay prospects. We got Gustave for a couple of okay prospects, but nothing so great. But yeah, so that covers kind of like the bullpen. You know, we were very active on the waiver wire in that first year, picking up guys and throwing them in there, especially after the season. A lot of guys, when the teams kind of redo their 40-mans after the season, you can pick up some really good relievers there. You just need to have a low enough claim, and with 59 wins, we had a pretty high waiver claim. And so we do have a really busy 40-man here. Like, there are a lot of guys on this 40-man that I wouldn't know who to DFA if I had to DFA somebody. Like, I guess a couple of these guys, but I mean, we definitely do have a 40-man crunch, which is a good problem to have, but you're gonna end up losing some guys. And we also still have good prospects, like we have that Stinson guy I mentioned earlier. We still have let me see here. We have Tristan Pompey's okay. We have this guy Gunnar Henderson, who was a first-round pick in the first draft. He looks like he's pretty good. We have this guy Austin Bigger, who was a 14th round pick in the first draft, who looks like he might be a gem. So you can keep these guys, you can trade these guys, you can you got to that's what farm systems are for. So we can easily flip a couple of those guys in the off season to get a better hitter or a better whatever. Which is kind of what we did at the trade deadline this year. Just want to look at it. Yeah, let me pull it up here. So these are like our top prospects according to the game. Obviously, Vaughn is still there. Krylov is still there, even though they're not prospects anymore. This guy William Robertson we picked up. Looks like he was a benefit of the random talent development, but yeah, we picked him up in the Chad Green deal for a couple of, we got like Nick Solak, who's okay, but center fielder is much more important, and Chris Valament, who was just a kind of nothing pitcher. But yeah, he ended up being a pretty big acquisition for us after Swaggerty went down. So that was important. So that was an important move for us. But I mean, you can see our rankings here in the National League. So our lineup is still not as good as I want it to be, but our pitching is really good. I mean, first in every category. We have a lot of good pitching. which is what they have in real life. I mean, I don't think they're gonna quite develop like this, but they have a lot of good pitching prospects. Like, Caleb Smith's not even here. He wasn't good in this, so I think he's much better in real life than the game. And obviously our bullpen. But yeah, so then in this season we got off to a pretty good start, I think. Maybe it was a little bit of a slow start. I can't remember. Let me see if I can pull it up. Yeah, no, we were off to a pretty good start, but we had a nice little win streak at one point. I think we won 12 in a row at one point. But we did struggle a little bit in the second half. I mean, you can see kind of what happened in like September. We were a little weak, even in July. But yeah, we actually did run into some injury problems this year. I mean, you can see our long DL here, or IL, I guess. It's a pretty long list. So we needed some reinforcements, like guys to replace Brian Anderson. I wanted another outfielder, so we picked up Rafael Devers at the deadline from Boston. We gave up. Was it just? Yeah, it was just Cole Tucker we gave up, who I like. I didn't really want to give him up, but I figured he's not going to play every day for us, so I can move him. He's expendable. And it looks like he had a pretty good run with Boston down the stretch in 19 games, but that's not really. It doesn't really mean much, but yeah. So it's going to create a little bit of a problem. I don't know what I want to do. Like, we're going to have Devers and Brian Anderson on the team. I still don't know if I want to add the DH in after this year. I might do that. I might not. But we have depth though, which is what's important for sure. And then we also picked up like Nomar Mazara at the deadline. To fill in for our outfielders. So we gave up Victor. Victor was the big give up, I think, right there. Again, he had decent enough ratings in this, but he wasn't performing. So, instead of maybe waiting for him to develop, I was just gonna say, you know what, let me get the player that can help us now and in the future, and just give up a little bit of the upside, maybe of Victor, but we got a good bat for him. So I don't regret the trade or anything, but I mean, you can see what he's done since he's come up. I mean, he really, really struggled, and he was getting pretty much everyday playing time last year, and he was really bad. I mean, there's no other way to put it. He was having a decent year this year. I was thinking maybe he was going to turn a corner, but I was okay giving him up, especially because we had Swaggerty and Robertson now in center field. We didn't really need Victor that much anymore. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, we did a lot of trading for sure. Definitely a unrealistic amount of trading, I think. There are teams that might not make this many trades in like 5 years or something, but I was very, very active, getting guys in and then shipping them out if I could get something better for them. It's not maybe the most realistic way to play, but if you want to rebuild a team, rebuilding team like the Marlins, not really a lot of cornerstone guys here at the beginning. Gotta be a little bit creative, and I like that. It's more fun that way, and I don't know if we're going to be able to be sustainable either, because we have a pretty tight budget. I even lowered payroll this year, not because I had to, but just kind of the way things worked out. But you're not going to draw fans really that much. Our total budget for next year is only supposed to go up to 138 from 124, even after this big year. And so we might still not have enough room to we might have to slash payroll again next year. So I'm definitely gonna probably non-tender like Hunter Renfroe and guys like that. We're probably gonna have to move some guys out, but yeah, we're supposed to go up to, like, I think these numbers are going to have to decrease. I don't think we'll be able to have a payroll like at 126. So it's probably not. This might not be a sustainable run here, but we're going to try to sign guys to below market extensions, just like what you see in real life, and go from there. But that's kind of what small market teams have to do. If you can't sign them, you got to trade them, and we might have to. We might be facing situations like that again. But anyways, to get to 100 wins in 2021, I wasn't really expecting that. I was expecting to be decent this year. I was thinking maybe we were going to hover around 500 again. But I guess that didn't happen. But yeah, it's kind of just like a little look at kind of how I built this team here. Had a lot of fun doing it for sure. I'm not going to stop doing it. I'm not going to stop this save or anything, but yeah, I just kind of wanted to show off kind of the way that I do this. I might give some more updates, as we progress further here. We get into some of the fictional players, things like that. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Is there anything else I need to show? I mean, you can see maybe our draft picks. Our drafts have been okay. I think mixed results so far. We only had like the one guy, Andrew Vaughn, who has produced so far, but a couple of guys who have already fallen off, like from this class, that don't look like they're going to be stars. But maybe trade chips. That's kind of what farm systems are for. This guy was our pick in year 2. This guy Josh Schuler, who was a 3rd overall pick, and now he doesn't look like he's going to be great either. So, you can't win them all. That's why we were pretty lucky to get what looks like it's going to be our franchise player in Andrew Vaughn with our first ever draft pick here. Now it's just going to be about trying to keep him. I tried to sign him to one of those extensions like Eloy Jimenez got in real life. I tried to sign him to that before the season started, so that way I could just play him right away. But he didn't. He wasn't going for it, so he spent some time in AAA, and then we called him up. But yeah, it's gonna be how are we gonna keep guys like him? How are we gonna keep Kirilloff? Are they gonna want to sign? Who knows? But that's what it's all about when you're playing as a small market team. I haven't done a small market playthrough in a long time. I did one with the Pirates last year. That was pretty up and down. I didn't get too far into it. We won the World Series. We went twice. We won once. But it wasn't, it was really up and down. I guess that's kind of maybe what I should be expecting. But I don't think we ever got to 100 wins, though. But yeah, I usually play, my main game last year was with San Francisco. They're a big market team. And then in the past, I did Oakland. I guess that's also small market, but and not as small as this, like where we can only have a payroll of about, we're not really ever going to touch triple digits in payroll, I don't think. So that is really small. I've never done really a full Marlins game in the in OOTP before, just because it was always so hard to get going with the guys that they had, like with Giancarlo and those big contracts. It was kind of hard to maneuver, do anything really, but in this, they have really no big salaries. I mean, Yan Chen's the only one, and that's a bad contract. You're just going to have to dump that, release that, and he's going to get paid either way. He's just not going to play. But other than that, they really have a lot of room here to make your mark. You have a lot of room to make your mark as a OOTP GM, I guess. And oh yeah, I guess I should mention we got rid of Don Mattingly as manager, and we got this guy Jose Zapata, who I believe is in the Red Sox organization in real life. I don't know if he's still there, but I know he was in the past. But yeah, he's pretty good with young players, which is definitely something I was looking for sure. He's got good development uh, influence, and with some of our key guys like Varsho, McMahon, Kirilloff, which is important. And we kind of shifted out our entire like front office here, so just another thing that you can invest in. Coaching staff and this personnel. That's also really important. So, but yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So I'm gonna run through the playoffs right now, but I'm gonna do that off camera, obviously. But if you guys want to see more, I can maybe do some more updates as I go further here. But who knows? But yeah, that's pretty much it. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.